My name is Adwoa Dadzie. I'm a career and personal development coach, and welcome to today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about that horrible feeling that some of you out there may actually be having right now, where you seriously are ready to throw in the towel on your current job. Now, before we go ahead and divorce your current job, I just want to talk to you about some of the ways that you can rebuild the broken trust that obviously has occurred that's gotten you to this point. So today's a really cool episode for me. I love this topic, and I absolutely cannot wait to help you pump the brakes a little bit so you can think about some things a little bit differently before you say sayonara to your current job. So if you are ready, let's go ahead and start talking. Now, let's talk about relationships and work and trust in general. Professional relationships and personal relationships have lots of similarities. The foundation of either relationship is trust. Now, one thing that you've got to remember and wrap your head around is that people are people are people, and people tend to do things that upset us. The thing that builds trust for us as humans is not the things that we say. People say and say and say wonderful, magical, inspiring things all the time. But what builds trust between you and I is actually actions. So we're paying attention to the behavior of people, more so actually than we even recognize. So when you are thinking about your boss, your team, your organization in general, the reason why you probably feel like divorcing your job is because at some point, one or more of those three groups has done something that you felt was counterintuitive to what they would have done or what their verbiage has been historically. Now, again, because we're dealing with people, you have that from time to time. So lesson number one when it comes to divorcing your job is to gain clarity on the fact that betrayal is a very natural part of any relationship. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, no matter what the betrayal, no matter what the loss of trust, you need to just stick it out. I don't necessarily co-sign on that. But I do want to educate you on the fact that betrayal is a very natural part of any relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, a professional relationship. So I want you to understand that it doesn't necessarily mean that you throw in the towel and divorce your job just because there has been that element of lost trust. But what you do need to do is lesson number two, which is acknowledge the loss of trust. Be specific about what the behavior was that your boss, your teammate, coworker, what have you, colleague has done that has caused you to feel like there's a loss of trust. Now, the specifics are important because as people, we do things and do not realize the perception of those actions to others around us. And by telling somebody, here's what you did, you are now helping that person understand how something that may have seemed incredibly benign to them actually has significant malignant experience and exposure to somebody else. So acknowledging the behavior around that loss of trust is really important. Now, once you've acknowledged it, comes lesson number three, which is tell the person how exactly it made you feel. So if it made you feel good, made you feel bad, some elements of the experience made you feel good, other elements made you feel bad, talk about the emotional experience that you had as a result of that behavior. It may not resonate with the person that you're speaking to. I'm just going to be honest. But you need to educate that person. It may not make sense at that moment. It may not make sense a week later, but it may make a sense a month later, 3 months later, a year later, etc. And you do not want that person walking away not knowing how their behavior made you feel. You're not an anomaly. So if you felt a certain way based on a person's behavior, it is likely that that person will continue to exhibit that behavior and make somebody else feel similarly. So you would be doing that person a disservice by not voicing your own emotional experience as a result of that behavior. So talk about how it made you feel without being defensive. Just keep it to how it made you feel. Now, lesson number four, when it comes to this whole trust factor and divorcing your job, is that you now have to talk about options and expectations. So on a go forward, most people will not feel great about knowing that their behavior made somebody feel bad. They may even get a little defensive and say, oh, you're just being sensitive. Regardless of what excuses that person makes for their behavior, it's important to talk about expectations on a go forward and options. You don't want to have other situations like that. So now that you've educated that person on what exactly they did that broke your trust and how it made you feel, you now need to talk about, okay, what do we do in the future? How do we operate in the future so that neither you nor I feels the way we feel right this second, so that you nor I have to have another conversation like this around trust or betrayal, etc. That's an important part, because that signals for both parties that there's, a desire to fix the relationship before saying, I'm out of here. And a desire to fix the relationship, again, tells you a lot about how invested that person is in making something positive out of a potentially very negative situation. So talk about expectations and options on a go forward for that professional relationship. And fifth, but certainly not least, so our last tip around this is that you got to take ownership. If you're going to be talking about how people make you feel and what they did and what you want them to do differently, you've got to have some skin in the game too. And that means you taking ownership for things that you could have done differently, things you said or things you didn't say, and how you can contribute in the future to a more positive working relationship. And what I encourage you to do is jot down your action items. What are 3 things that you personally are going to do differently or do more so that you don't have to have another situation like this with your leadership or a coworker at work because of loss of betrayal? And if you do have it again, at least you know that you're doing your part. The caveat that I will give you is that people need time to change. So if you have a conversation with someone and then the next week you see that they've done it again, it may not be that they don't give a darn about what your concerns were. It may be that that's just actually how they are. So you're asking them to adapt themselves because of how they made you feel. Give them a little bit of time to wrap their head around that, okay? It's actually important. You can't expect people to change their behavior on a dime and have it be sustainable. So what I challenge you is give yourself 3 action items and give that relationship 90 days to see if it improves, remains the same, or gets worse. And follow through on the things that you're supposed to follow through on your action items, because that's going to be how you show that you are taking ownership to make what could have been a divorce situation a reconciliation. Okay? All right. So those are my tips on you when it comes to those feelings about divorcing your job. So pump the brakes, do those 5 things, and then check me out over at adwoadadzie.com. And underneath this video, I want you to tell me how it went. I want to know, did these things work? Did one work more than the other? I want to hear your feedback. So pop on over to the site and let us all know how you are feeling about this whole idea of divorcing your job and pumping your brakes and doing a few things first before you do it. Now, if you're liking me and you're liking this video, I like you too. So make sure that you like this video and you share it. And of course, check out the site, adwoadadzie.com, because over there, I've got lots of other videos for you, believe it or not. And they're actually kind of cool. And there are videos to help you out with your personal life and with your professional life. So I'm super, super excited for you to watch those other videos. And after you're watching the videos, if you feel like, you know what, I'm digging this chick so much, I feel like I need a little bit more. It's all good. Just sign up for my email updates, because I let my email subscribers know first when I'm releasing really cool new stuff. So I want you to be in the mix so that you can get first dibs, so that you can get everything you need to have this rockin' career and a rockin' life. So until you and I connect at next week's episode, please go out into the world today and act with conviction, be courageous, and live joyfully every single day. Thanks for checking me out, and I will see you at next week's episode. Bye.